Welcome to the Security Operative Podcast. This is Tony O'Brien of Security Operative Consultancy Services, here to share with you my perspectives from the world of security and risk management. Enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome to episode number 37 of the Security Operative Podcast. Excitement this week. I've been promising this for a couple of weeks, and finally, I got to sit down and have an interview with my good friend, Mr. Zachary Rugen of RMS Protective in the US. I've known Zach probably 5 or 6 years now online. We've never actually met in person. We speak quite regularly online though. Zach is somebody who I'm delighted to see doing so well in his security career. Like myself, has taken the long road through it. He's come through, started on the doors, moved into executive protection in the States. Now as director of operations for a very large global security protective services. We talked for about an hour about his background on the doors, working in bars and nightclubs, and how he moved on and the challenges he found from moving into management and moving into training and then moving on to owning companies. So I think this interview is definitely worthwhile for anybody who is in the security career and is looking to move from security guarding or door work. And they've been told that, no, you're just a security guard, you're just a bouncer, you're just a door supervisor. Zach is a great example of how somebody can come right from the bottom, taking on all challengers. He's somebody who I really respect in the industry, and I think anybody will get a lot from this interview. So we talked for about an hour, like I said. I'm not going to spend too long talking about what we talked about in it. I prefer for you to listen to the interview, but I just want to say thanks again to Zach. When we did the interview, actually, it was about 7 o'clock on a Sunday night Irish time over here. I went in the office to do it, but it was Memorial Weekend in the States, and Zach took time away. He's on a detail. He's in his hotel room. It's effectively a bank holiday weekend there, and Zach took the time to do it. So I just want to say thanks to him again, and thanks for all the free knowledge that he dropped. We're also looking at a really exciting project with some really heavyweights in the security industry around a podcast about people who came from the doors, from bars and nightclubs, and moved on to do great things in the industry. So that's something to look forward to over the next couple of months as well. But for now, I'm going to leave you with myself and my conversation with Mr. Zachary Rugen. Okay, we are now live. So thank you, Mr. Zachary Rugen, for joining me. We've been trying to do this for a while. So me and Zach are both very busy people. So right now, first of all, I want to say thanks, because right now it is 7:30 in Ireland on a Sunday, which means that it's like lunchtime on a Sunday where you are, which means that your family probably hate me. And it's a bank holiday weekend over there, isn't it? So they probably double hate me for organising this right at this very time. So I appreciate it. I've been trying to do it for a while. I'll probably have already said this in the intro, but Zach is somebody who I've known. This is probably the second time we've seen each other's face online. There was this time, and there was the time on our mutual friend, Mr. DaCosta's, when we did that webinar thing. Yeah. But we've known each other on and off probably for 4 or 5 years now, I'd say, isn't it?
Yeah,
maybe more. Yeah, something like that, yeah. And Zach is somebody, you were somebody, I don't know why I'm calling you in the third person there, it's a bit weird, but you were somebody that I absolutely look up to in the industry. I love the stuff you do, and I love the way you do it. So it's a real pleasure. And I think that the people who listen to this podcast and YouTube show will really get something from it. And also the people who don't like you and me can also sit in the background and bitch about us and have a reason for it, rather than just sitting in the background bitching about nothing, So I'll start off. Zach Rugen, for people who don't know you, would you like to introduce Mr. Zachary Rugen and how you got started, where you're from, what you did, and why you're in the industry?
Oh, let's see. I started in nightclubs and bars back in 2009. Managed nightclubs about 8 years. Then I transitioned over into executive protection and managing operations. That's what I do today. So I started a management firm back in 2020, actually, and recently merged with a new company. And I'm now the director of operations with that company. And we're global, doing operations all over the world, especially in Europe and the United States. So that's what we do. I mean, we're just staffing stuff left and right and putting people in places.
You did that in like 40 seconds, and you made it just like Yeah, I started in nightclubs and now I do global operations. Like just like that. Like, yeah. Okay, so I'm
We
gonna
can go into detail. We can go into detail.
yeah, I'm gonna just step you through that. So first of all, 2009. What made Zach Rugen interested in getting into the security industry first, but then into the nightclub security industry? Was it something you'd always wanted to do, or something that you fell in because you were starving to death, or what was the?
I had to pay bills, man. I had
Yeah.
to pay bills. My brother was a bouncer at an Irish pub, and American Irish pub. It's not the same where you guys are from. And I just got in there and worked my way up the chain. And before I knew it, I was managing a 15,000 square foot venue. 30 plus, 40 plus personnel per night. Um, it's been a journey. So I don't know how to go into detail with it, but it's been fun.
So you got in straight away into nightclub security with no prior security experience. You just went straight from that. Um, and most people that get into it, they say, "Okay, I come in because I had a background in this, whether it was law enforcement or whether it was military or whether it was martial arts." You had none of that. So how did you find it at the very 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 start?
Um, yeah, I learned as I went, like most people do. I'll be honest, the first few years, it was all about beating people up, cracking skulls, being tough. And then, the more I evolved as a manager and understood the customer service aspect of it, I tailored our training to where now we were more customer friendly with the emphasis on security as well. So, it's learning experience. You start hurting people and you start getting sued. It's not good for the owner, and it's not good for, especially the bouncer at the time. It's not, you start getting bouncers being arrested, and it kind of changes your tone a little bit. You start learning, well, what am I doing wrong and how can I fix it? So.
I think flashing blue lights, regardless of what type of vehicle they're attached to, never make a good look outside of a nightclub venue.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Never good when the police show up.
Yeah. It doesn't matter whether it's police, ambulance, or fire services. When there's flashing blue lights outside of your venue, it's never a good look. It
Right.
doesn't scream customer service. But one of the things I always found about when I worked indoors, I got into through martial arts, and I always say now I think it was actually a hindrance to me at the very, very start, because I had that violence background that I didn't need to be very good at talking to people, and it actually counted against me at the start that I over relied on that before becoming into customer service, into
Right.
the customer service and the things like. Did you find yourself getting better at communication as you went, or did you find yourself that you were always good at communication? You just changed how you communicated.
To tell the truth, I'm actually really shy and I hate large crowds. So it was weird that I managed such a large venue.
Job call, yeah.
I mean, I guess if you're weak at something, you got to learn how to be better at it. So I took, all sorts of training courses online about leadership and how to speak to people and conflict resolution. And, just over the years, I just built up that confidence to where kind of like when you walk on the floor, your whole persona changes and you're almost like an actor, you change it on, it turns on, turns off, and you can flip that switch and put the smile on and be friendly and make sure the customer has a good time and the business is making money. So.
Do you miss it? Even after all these years, do you miss nightclubs?
Yes and no.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm going on a good few years now, and still, there's sometimes you miss. Like I still remember my first. I don't know what you guys call it over there, but we call it St. Stephen's night. It's the night after Christmas Day, and so it's a big drinking night over here. Like a very very busy night. I remember the first one where it didn't work. Sitting at home 10 o'clock Saturday night, St. Stephen's night, looking at herself, going, "What do normal people do on a Saturday night?"
What I miss the most is setting up the club and having it being presented before the doors open. Mm-hmm. And then I miss the action of it. 2,000, 3,000 plus people pouring in throughout the night. I miss that. I don't miss the bullshit behind all of it, dealing with knuckleheads or upset customers because their tab is too much or whatever. I don't miss the little ins and outs, but I do miss the camaraderie with all the employees that we had and all the friends that I had in the business. I don't speak to a lot of them these days. We've all kind of gone our separate ways. Some are still working in the business. But I stay in touch with the close ones that I was with.
Yeah. You do meet kind of lifelong friends when you've been in like violent situations with people. You do meet people who you'll always call a friend because of the situations that you were in with them, I suppose.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you moved in from working in nightclubs and bars to training nightclubs and bars. What was the reason for that?
I saw the lack of standards across the board. I still see it today when I go into a bar or a nightclub. It's going to be that way for a long time. Bouncers are still wanting to be the tough guy. They're not that customer service friendly representative. I mean, I saw it last night. I took some employees out to have some beers, and we saw, the bouncer was trying to act tough, and I'm like, come on, man, you don't have to act that way. Like, there's a better way to do it, So that's why I got into the training side of things. I wanted to teach people, you're not wrong. You just don't know the right way.
Yeah.
There's better ways to do it to where you can get your job done. You can still be that authoritative figure in front of the person, but you can still make money and not have to beat everybody up and take them out back,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why I focus more on the training side and the consulting side. And there's so many bars here in the United States. It's insane how many of them just don't know that they're doing something wrong.
Yes.
So, it's not my way is the highway kind of thing. It's just, here's what I learned. Maybe you guys could use it too. And it might help you guys because it helped our venue. Our venue used to have a lot of issues. And when we turned it around and we put policies and procedures in place, we put training in place, we hired the right people, things went smooth, and the owner loved it because the owners made tons of money and everybody was having a good time. So,
yeah, I think a lot of venues either don't show that the respect it needs or misunderstand it, getting those fundamentals right of recruiting and hiring. And it's not something that was ever done. It was usually, find the biggest, ugliest guy you can get a black bomber jacket to fish. That's your doorman. Yeah.
My big thing when we transitioned over from being tough to being friendly, my big thing was hiring customer service oriented people. Mm-hmm. So my big stick was, I can't teach you how to be a nice guy, how to talk to people. I can teach you what I need to teach you about security. But if you don't know how to naturally just have a smile on your face and welcome somebody to the front door, I don't have a use for you. I want somebody who's welcoming, and then all the security stuff, I can teach you that. That's fine. That's no big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing how they even recruit in the wrong places sometimes. And we still see it here, guys putting ads on Facebook, need 10 security staff for a nightclub tomorrow.
Yeah.
That recruitment is rarely going to be successful.
Better be knowing who you're hiring there.
Yeah. But even the simple stuff, anywhere I've worked, I've always banned the wearing of black, all black. I think that they should stick out. They should be obvious who they are. There should be deterrence value, but it shouldn't be like the milk tray man standing in the background. Like right. the ninja coming out. I think it is a big thing when you put emphasis on the fundamentals and stuff like that. What did you find difficult about moving from Zachary Rugen security person to Zachary Rugen security trainer? What were the hardest bits of that?
The hardest part was my age. I'm fairly young. Nobody wants to. It's hard to tell a bouncer who's been doing it for 20 years. Hey, you're not really doing it right. You could do it a little bit better. And this is what I learned. That's been probably the biggest challenge was, at the time when I started my business, I was 26 years old. So to have a 26-year-old come in and tell you, there's a better way to do it. There's a friendlier way to do it. You get a lot of pushback from some of the older heads. So that was the big challenge. And then finding owners that wanted to pay for services. Owners are very tight with their budget. They've got the liquor orders, they have the rent, the utilities, they have all that to pay for, salaries, payroll, whatever. They don't want to spend $1,000, $2,000 to have a trainer come in and teach some, if it's in their mind, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But they don't know it's broken until you tell them it's broken,
It's one of those industries where I often marvel at it and I complain about it all the time. It's so client-led. Like there's no other industry in the world where they would ring a professional and tell a professional what they want that professional to do. How they would like their job. Like there's no way you'd ever walk into a hospital and say, yeah, I'm sick. I need you to operate on me and I need you to do it this way. you know.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but they expect to do it with a security person. It often astounds me. And did you set up Nightclub Security Services? That was the original company, wasn't it? Nightclub Security Service. Yeah. So did you do that as like a side job for a little while and work the doors, or did you jump straight in, start your own business, and left the nightclub?
Yeah, I started it in, I think, March 2017, and I was still employed at the venue. The original plan was we were going to, I was going to manage security through the consulting side of that business, and then the owner was going to do bar management as well. So that was our original plan, and that kind of went out the window because his schedule was so busy. And then when I got more into the private sector side of stuff, I kind of fell out of love with the nightclub stuff. And then so, you know, come, what was it, August, September, when I left the nightclub, you know, I just went full force into NSS and just dumped everything into that and kind of just went from there. It's been a roller coaster. So
then we have pivot number one, right? So you go from nightclubs to nightclub security training, and then very quickly you went from nightclub security training into the executive protection world. So was that something you were already interested in, or was it just an opportunity came up, or what attracted you to executive protection then?
I was interested in it. I actually didn't know anything about it until...
I wouldn't worry about it. Most of the people in it don't, so don't worry.
Yeah. Late 2017, I finally learned like what is executive protection. We had worked for a few talent that had come through the club, and our security provided the security for them. And then one of the tour managers said to me, he's like, "Well, how long have you been doing EP?" I said, "Well, what the hell is EP? I have no idea what does that mean?"
About 3 hours.
Yeah, about 3 hours. Yeah. And he said, "Well, you guys are really good at what you're doing. I figured you guys do this all the time." I said, "No, we're just club security." So then I looked into, well, what is executive protection? And then that's when I found Joe Sorsa and took his training course. And, you know, then I went on and took, you know, Eric Parker's training course at Select International and Walter Gaia at ISCG. You know, I just kind of evolved into it to where, you know, now I'm taking a course every 2 years, trying to, you know, just learn everything that I can about EP and the operations of EP. I'm not really a field agent anymore. I'm definitely a management side of things, but I want to know all the new things that the EP guys are learning. What's new that's coming out, and how can I use that from a management side to make sure that they're taken care of on the ground. So.
And what was the biggest challenge you found then, again, for Zachary Rugen, the nightclub person, nightclub security trainer, then moving into Zachary Rugen, executive protection?
What does a nightclub guy know about executive protection? That's the biggest thing. Customer service, man. That's all I can say. I mean, I'm friendly with all of our clients. I know enough about security. I don't have law enforcement. I don't have military background, but I know what I need to know. And, you know, we just make it work with the customer service side of things, and treat the client the way I would want to be treated. That's the big thing that I do.
I committed a close protection game in kind of similar way to you, came from nightclubs and stuff like that. Did you find that you got a lot of pushback from the traditionalists when you started to get into the industry, who might have had those type of backgrounds beforehand, law enforcement or military or whatever the case might be?
Yeah, I mean, I still get it to this day. I mean, I'm 30 now, and I still get, you know, you got a 50-year-old retired federal agent, and what does a 30-year-old know? This guy's been around for a while. So I still get pushback today. And it's, you know, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. I run with it, and I just, you know, let them know, hey, like, it's just management. I'm just a manager. I'm a project manager, operations manager. You have all the experience and the knowledge from your years in law enforcement, your years in the military. I want you to put that to use. I'm just going to do everything behind the scenes and make sure that you've got everything covered.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of then, you've taken a lot of training within the executive protection industry. How do you think that the standard of training is in that industry, in that particular industry, or do people just bypass training based on experience and things like that?
Overall, there's a lot of good courses out there. I'm not going to promote one over the other. I've attended 3, and I'm about to attend another one here soon. I learned something new from every single one. Something that I learned from the first one, I learned different from the very last one I just took. So there's a lot of knowledge out there. There's a lot of guys that they're not trained in it, in the lingo and all the fundamentals of EP, but they know what they're doing. They've either done PSD work with the military while they were overseas, or they've done some type of PSD work with law enforcement. So they know the ins and outs, but you find every once in a while a couple of guys that don't really know what they're doing, and you try and coach them up a little bit. This is what I've learned through the courses I've taken. Try it, see if it helps you. If it does help you, great. If not, continue to do it your way.
One of the things kind of that I've always admired about what you do is the amount of time and effort that you invest in A, networking, and B, marketing yourself online to other people. Do you think that's something that's lacking in the executive protection world, how people network and how they market what it is that they do?
Overall, yeah. I think there's a lot of people that don't know how to network and don't know how to market themselves without exposing who their clients are. Mm-hmm. That's a big thing. I've got
the business card with the picture of them with all the clients.
Yeah. I mean, I've got pictures for days of people that I've worked with, but I don't market it that way. I market it as, I worked a Super Bowl event, or I worked, whatever. I market it that way to where, yeah, I was there, I assisted, but I'm not telling you who I worked for. And with the networking, I mean, that you can ask all of our employees. My network is insane. I've got people on all the continents. Working on Antarctica, I haven't found anybody that does EP in Antarctica yet, but we're getting there. But I mean, I've got
There's
people
a penguin being kept safe somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere someone's protecting penguins. My network is my net worth. So I mean, I just met all sorts of people, from yourself to Miguel to I've got contacts in France and Australia and South Africa. I mean, I'm all over the place. I just met people just by talking through LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook or whatever. I've just met people over the years, I save everybody's contact. Everybody that works for me, you're saved in my phone. I list how I met you in the description. I know where I met you from, who introduced me to you. I put that in the phone as well. Like, I know where everybody comes from and where the tree is going. So it's kind of been
so basically you're a stalker.
Yeah, basically, I know everything about you. It's fine. No big deal.
Yeah. So aside from the customer service aspect of things, do you think you learned that in working in bars and nightclubs, any of the skills or any of the traits that you were able to transfer then into executive protection?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The ability to speak to a stranger within a second. Somebody walking up to your door and you don't know who they are, but you're friendly to them. You want to get to know who they are. You're trying to read their body. You're trying to understand them as a customer. I shifted that, and I use that with our clients now. Mm-hmm. So brand new client, I present it the same way. I want to do that same introduction, get to know who they are, read who they are. And then the big thing is, hold on, I'm sorry. Another big thing is, just working with a bunch of people that you don't really know and building that camaraderie and that trust. That's been big, especially in the EP side of things. We're constantly hiring new vendors. Constantly, the new vendors have new agents with their company, and you want to get to know everybody. You want them to know, hey, look, yeah, I'm your boss, but I'm here to help you. Tell me what you need, and I'll make sure it happens. I'll try my best at it. So that's been the big thing, and I learned that from the nightclubs as well. With new bartenders coming in, new bar backs, new DJs, whoever else coming in through the door, you want everybody to feel welcomed and feel like, look, I'm the director of security here at this venue, but I'm here to help you. We're all on the same team. What can we do?
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I follow quite closely, because it's something I'm in the middle of at the moment. As you know, you were one of the first people I sent on the new logos to and stuff. We're in the middle of a rebrand at the minute, moving from security operative consultancy services to a new brand. You moved from nightclub security services to Luther Management. Am I getting that move correctly?
Yeah.
What was the kind of thought process behind that?
I was getting a lot of pushback from EP clients. What does a nightclub company know what they're doing? So I rebranded as a LMI, Luther Management Inc. And we focused on, we were a staffing agency. So you see it all the time with the big box companies. They're always hiring new vendors. We became a vendor for them. So we were a staffing company that would hire out, if Tony needs somebody in Washington, well, I've got a trusted vendor in Washington. They're licensed, they're insured. Here's their vetted guys. So with my network, I just decided to run a management company and farm everything out. I'm not licensed in every state. I'll be the first to admit it. So if I'm not licensed in a state, I'm going to hire somebody who's licensed to be it. And then go ahead.
Did you find that a shift again in mindset in dealing primarily now, firstly with bouncers and management in nightclubs, and then with executive protection field agents, and now you're taking it a step up again? You're dealing more at the corporate level, at the kind of C-suite level. Was that a change in mindset and application again, or?
Very different, because you're dealing with a lot bigger personalities on the corporate side. You're dealing with large companies, so they have their standards that they want you to abide by, and then your vendors have to abide by their standards as well. So that was a shift in everything, learning how the corporate side of business and how to talk corporate talk, and how to be the guy that sits in the boardroom and able to understand what the client's saying, what they want, and then translating that to the vendor who may not understand the reason for it, but I'm going to not really dumb it down, but yeah, I'm going to dumb it down for you and say, hey, I need X, Y, Z done. This is why I need it done. And you're still accomplishing the mission.
Mm-hmm. So. Does the communication get technical there for you in terms of, you're dealing with a client and you're not the middleman, but I suppose you could be potentially a middleman between the client and a variety of vendors then below that. Can the communication get complex in there?
Yeah, it can get muddy at times. There's been times where miscommunications happened. We're running so many operations that maybe a couple times our team forgets to, inform a vendor, this is the way we want it done. And then they don't do it right. And then all the blame falls back on me and our company, because, ultimately the client hired us. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's some miscommunication issues occasionally, but you have to be very careful. Every day is challenging, and communicating everything down the chain can be difficult, but as long as you do it right, your vendors are usually pretty squared away.
And in terms of managing vendors and stuff like that, was it a big jump for you then to go from, say, training a couple of security teams in various nightclubs to managing on multiple, firstly, probably on a national scale, and then to international? What was the biggest change when you started to scale, did you find?
The biggest change was just learning the agency owners or operation managers that we were dealing with, learning what they like to do and their personnel, and molding them into, all right, well, now this is the RMS way. This is the way we want it done. Can you do it that way? All right, you can, great. If not, then we have to move on. The biggest challenge is probably the overseas operations, mainly the language barrier. So, finding a translator or finding a vendor overseas that speaks both English and their natural language. I only know English. I don't know much Spanish. I know enough to get by, but that's the biggest challenge with the overseas operations, is that language barrier. But we make it work, and thankfully, we've always been dealing with a vendor who speaks both languages, so that's helpful.
Just clarify that at the very start. Yeah, you speak both languages. Yeah, that's the important bit. So did you find, because this is something that I'm experiencing, like you, I would have managed teams before very successfully and then ran my own business before. But what did you find a difference between being Zachary Rugen, the manager, and Zachary Rugen, the owner?
It's very tough.
Yeah.
It's very tough coming from management and as a field agent, and then moving into, now I'm the owner or the operations director, and I've got employees underneath me, and a lot of vendors and a lot of other agents through those vendors. So it's been challenging with guys who knew me before and guys who are still with me today. they're used to always being able to text me or call me directly. If people knew how much messages and phone calls and emails I get on a daily basis, their minds would explode. So it's been challenging, and I've always been a solo operator before moving with RMS. But now we have a dedicated team that, our team is very good at delegating everything out, and, hey, I need help with this. Can so-and-so take care of it? So, I push a lot of our people off, a lot of the guys that reach out to me. Hey, here's my flight, blah, blah, blah. I need a rental car, whatever it is. I can delegate that out to, all right, well, I need you to reach out to so-and-so. They'll arrange your flight. They'll arrange your rental. They'll take care of this, that, and the other. So it's been challenging, but I've only been with RMS officially since January of this year. So it's still a transition for me. I'm learning as I'm going, just like they're learning throughout the process. So it's been fun, but my phone still blows up to this day. So
do you find, or did you find, because this is one of the things that I find the hardest to do, is to let go and actually let other people do those tasks, to delegate them out? Yeah.
Very, very
That's probably my biggest issue.
Very challenging. My hands have always been in everything. And even with my partner, he's used to the same way. He's always been the one handling everything. We just talked about it this morning. We hired a new company to handle some admin stuff for us. And it's hard for us to disconnect and we still have eyes on, but our hands aren't on it. And it's different to deal with that way, because you've been doing it for so long where your hands on, eyes on, and to kind of relinquish some of that to somebody else.
Hard. Very hard. Very hard.
It's very hard.
To have somebody else handing in a report or a piece of paperwork that has your name on it,
Yeah, it's something as simple as an invoice, somebody else submitting an invoice to a client that you've been working with for the last 4 years, and you're not submitting that invoice anymore. It's weird, but it's a learning process. You got to take baby steps.
Yeah. Feel free, because this just popped into my head now, feel free not to answer it. Because what I see is a lot of people who want to work, I get a lot of people who come on security management programs and stuff like that and say, I want to be a security consultant, I want to work for myself and stuff like that. And you go, yeah, absolutely fine. But you need to understand the commitment that goes with working for yourself. It's not just, I'm a businessman now, I can work from Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and now I'm a security consultant. How do you find that balancing I know you've got a wife, you've got a couple of kids, things like that. How do you find that balance? Because I certainly still don't get it right, in any way, shape, or form, even a couple of years in.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, I'm sitting in a hotel room right now. I mean, I've been on the road for the last week and a half. I'll be here another week. It's challenging, but luckily my wife has been with me through the beginning, so she's kind of seen the steps to where, all right, we had no work and we had 1 or 2 clients, and now you've got 20 plus clients that you're working with, and the workload's increased. But I was working solo back then. Now we've got 6 full-time employees. So it's a challenging balancing act, but you have to, anytime that you're home and not working, I'm always working, but anytime you're home and your phone's not blowing up as much, you try to enjoy the little moments. I know as a father, and I know you're a father as well, like the little simple things like bedtime, breakfast in the morning, taking them to the zoo, little things like that your kids will remember. But on the other hand, while you're at the zoo, you're still on your phone answering an email or whatever else. So it's very difficult to juggle. I don't know how I do it. I'll be honest with you. My mind works in weird ways.
Yeah,
so, ask my wife, man. She doesn't know how I manage it, but I managed to make it work. And it's challenging. So anybody that's coming into the business wants to be a business owner. It's not all that it looks up to be. It's not as amazing as you think it is. You're working 18, 20-hour days sometimes. I mean, the other night I was answering emails at 2 a.m. It's like you wake up in the middle of the night. My first instinct is to look at my emails and to look at my text. Who called me? Who sent me an email? And if it's important, you got to get out of bed. You got to make a phone call. So,
yeah, I think that's something that people miss. You talk about those little things that I see, but also that I've missed over the years as well. And you have to be prepared to miss some of those as well. Like, you know, I think that's the commitment that people don't get. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I've missed birthdays, I've missed many anniversaries, many holidays. My middle son, I missed probably 90% of his first year that he was born because I was on the road so much. So that's challenging. Like, a lot of people mentally probably can't process that. And as a business owner, you got to understand, like, you're sacrificing for a reason, and you got into the business to do what you're doing for your family. Obviously, we're all in this business to make money. Like, I don't care what anybody tells you. We're all here to make money.
Yeah. I love these idealists. Yeah.
I'm not doing it for free. So,
Idealists. They're the same
I
people that said, I got into the industry because I've always wanted to be a protector since I was born. You go, no, you were hungry and you needed to pay bills, and then you found you enjoyed it.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be challenging, but you just have to learn your balances, and it's difficult. I'm not going to say every day is easy. Every day's got its own new challenge, and you just have to work with it. So
that brings nicely on to the next question. What does a day or a week look like for you now in the current role that you do?
Oh, I'm usually up 7 a.m., sometimes 8 a.m., running and gunning. Most times I wake up to phone calls from clients. So they wake me up in the morning and I have to play it off like I wasn't sleeping. But operating, I mean, we're managing at the moment 9 projects worldwide, over 60 agents in the field as we speak. So you got to carefully manage, you know, what's your high profile, which one's high profile. I mean, they're all important to the client, they're all important, but which one's the big ones? So you got to, you know, go down your list and then, you know, start putting fires out. I tell people all the time, I'm not in the security business. I'm a professional firefighter. So you got to start putting the fires out. You know, logistic wise, you have to take care of schedules and payroll and lodging and hotels and flights and rental cars. I mean, it's just a grueling process day to day. Some days are quiet. Some days it's operations run smooth on all the projects. Nothing's going crazy. And you can kind of sit back and just catch up on admin stuff behind the scenes, you know, whatever computer stuff you need to take care of. Other days are rough. So.
Rough, that's a good word. Yeah, rough.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm lucky, I'll be in bed by midnight. Most of the time I'm in bed by midnight. Some nights I'm up until 3 or 4 in the morning. So
again, that's the bit that people don't see, like, you know, that they rarely see it, you know. They see the good marketing and things like that on LinkedIn and Instagram and stuff like that, but they don't see what goes into making that work in the background, you know.
There's a lot behind the scenes.
Yeah. What's the biggest change that you've seen in the industry since you got into it, whether that's in the EP industry? Probably you've spent more of your years in the EP industry, right, than or managing projects there.
I've spent more with nightclub managing. I've been more of a manager than I have anything. Yeah.
Security industry as a whole. What's the biggest change you've seen since you got into it?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Think it's gotten better or worse? First of all,
they're getting better. I definitely think everything gets better. I think people are starting to, the training courses that are available out there are better than they were 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. There's so much going on in the world with violence and everything that there's so many opportunities to train. And I think what really helped the industry a lot was COVID. Honestly, I think with the abilities with people coming out with online training and these Zoom trainings and all these Zoom calls that people can do, I think that's been huge. You know, people can sit at home and now they can learn from home, even though they may not be working, they're still getting some training in. I don't really see a downside to the industry. I don't see, everything's been pretty up for the most part, upwards. I mean, you're always going to have your shitheads in the industry. So, I mean, there's that, but for the most part, it's been pretty positive. And, you know, I like the way that we're going with the industry, that so much intel is out there about whether it's, you know, you're studying about terrorism, you're studying about active shooters, executive protection, whatever cybersecurity has been huge. I mean, that's blown up the last 5 years. I know that. I know a lot of guys get into the cyber sector. So there's so much opportunities in the industry as a whole. That's why I don't like to bunch it as executive protection. I think there's so many subcategories to that somebody could be a specialist. And I know a guy, he's a specialist in technical surveillance countermeasures. All he does is bug sweeps. That's all he does.
Yeah.
And he's the best at it. So, I mean, like he's got his own dish, you know, everybody calls that guy for that job. So, I mean, if you're good at one thing, if you're really good at cybersecurity, if you're good at it, people are going to call you. They're going to hire you for that specifically. So there's more to the industry than just being a body man, you know?
I think those people will eventually, I think you're right on COVID actually, because what you've seen is that, you know, where there was 100% of work and that very quickly went back to 10%. It was the 10% of guys who were really, really good who kept to work.
Yeah.
And the other 90% who ended up at home. And a lot of those guys had to sit and look at themselves and go, why am I not getting that phone call? And what do I now have to do to make sure that I'm getting that phone call? And those are the guys who are now getting the calls to come back into the industry. And the guys who sat at home watching Netflix and giving out, they're not going to be the guys who get the call to come back in the industry, because since COVID shut everything down, the industry's moved on.
Yeah.
You know, very, very quickly, you know. And there was no reason in the world during that pandemic why people shouldn't have been able to upskill. There was so much training out there at cost, but for free as well, that people could have taken
tons of free training.
Yeah. So in terms of people getting into the industry, what advice would you give to somebody now who's considering a career in security, executive protection?
Don't do it.
Caffeine.
No, the big thing is time commitment. If you're dedicated to the job, if you really want to be in this business, you got to understand you have to sacrifice. There's a lot to sacrifice. From time, from family events. We've already discussed that. You know, financially, I mean, you're going to have to fork out quite a bit of money to get, if you want top tier training, you're going to have to fork out some money for that. The big thing is, you know, you just have to be adaptable and just roll with everything. You know, not every detail is the same. So you may come from one detail where hypothetically you're with a touring artist and they're paying for everything. Hotels, flights, food, whatever. But then you get shifted over to something else to where now you have to pay for some of that. You know, you sacrifice a little bit because you're trying to build that resume. I know when I started, I was doing anything and everything. It didn't matter what the price was. I had to put food on the table. So I was doing terminations. I was doing physical EP. I was doing event security. I was still working at the nightclub. I mean, I was doing everything that I could to get my name out there, to build my resume up, to build my client list up of people. I've worked with so-and-so and this and that and the other. So it takes baby steps. I don't want somebody to go through a EP school and think I can get a job tomorrow. Nobody knows who you are. The venue owner or agency owners don't know who you are. Operation managers, they have no idea who you are. So you have to build your resume. You have to build that trust with all these other companies to where if I call Tony and say, hey, I need something in, you know, blah, 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 Tony can say, I got a guy for you. I know who it is. So you have to build up that trust to where people are now starting to refer you and saying, yeah, this guy's good. I've worked with him or her, whatever. I've worked with this person and I trust them. So you go ahead and use them. So that's a big thing is take your time. It's not going to happen overnight. I mean, I'm not an overnight success. Neither are you. I mean, some people might see that online that this guy came out of nowhere. Like, no, I didn't come out of nowhere. It took a while to get there. I just blasted on the scene all of a sudden. So.
And in terms of what you just said there, how important for new people do you think that networking is? And what advice would you give new people for networking in the industry?
Very important. I think any conference, any cocktail event, these training groups are big. When you go to a training school, you network with everybody that's there. You network with the instructors. These Facebook groups are overall, they mean well. there's a
I
lot
was
of
wondering how you were going to phrase that.
there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity to network within them. I mean, hell, I met you through Facebook, you know, so you can meet some good people, but you have to be careful what you say in the comments. Be careful what you post. There's a lot of people out there that, you know, they don't want other people to step up. So a lot of old heads too, a lot of old guys that haven't changed their mindset. I mean, the groups overall are great. You can meet a lot of great people. I can tell you right now, I probably have 500 friends on Facebook. Maybe 200 of them I've never met before in my life.
Oh, look at me. I'm popular. Yeah, go on.
All right. Let's say 300. There we go. But, you know, there's people I'm connected with on Facebook that I've never met, but there's that professional respect, and I know where they're at. They know where I'm at. If we ever need anything, they have my cell phone. I have theirs. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I just went to an alumni event in Tampa a couple weeks ago, and in that room, I probably only knew 20% of the people in the room. There was, you know, 60 to 80 people there, and I knew 20 or 30 of them. So, I mean, there's networking events are huge. The IPSB coming up, that's a big thing. You'll meet tons of people. I know that there's clubhouse events. I know Elijah Shaw does this clubhouse thing with Mark James.
They just don't like Irish people. They put it on at 2 a.m. in the morning, Irish time. You know, so.
Wait, I thought you worked 24/7.
Tell my missus I got to get out of bed at 2 a.m. for a clubhouse meeting. Yeah.
for a 1 hour podcast. Sorry, honey. No, I mean, those are good ways to see other faces, get your name out there. Sometimes they open up an open discussion. Hey, audience, what's your thoughts? And then, you know, all right, Tony O'Brien, Zach Rugen steps in and says, you know, here's my thoughts. And then somebody who's listening who doesn't know you, oh, that guy he knows what he's talking about. All right, let me jot his name down. I might need to call him in the future. So it's like little things like that. It takes time though. I don't want anybody coming into the business to think, you know, I'm going to make myself in a year or two. I mean, you could, don't get me wrong. Anybody could come in and make a splash right away, but it takes time.
Yeah. One of the things, I don't know, do you agree with this or not, but one of the things that I find, especially in European, I don't know if it's the same on your side of the pond, but is that I always tell new people, don't be afraid to ask for help or ask advice, particularly on LinkedIn. I think the security industry is actually very, very good for people with lots of experience willing to offer help to new people if they would just ask outside the Facebook group. Don't ask for things that you could just Google, but, you know, asking for advice and stuff. I think there's lots and lots of people out there who are willing to help if you just ask the question of people.
And that's, I'll be honest, that's one of my big flaws. I don't like to ask for help. My employees know it. My partner knows it. I've always been somebody who I think I can figure it out one way or another. I'll figure it out, but we all need help. Don't be afraid to, you know, hey, I've come across this scenario, you know, what's everybody's thoughts on this? You know, don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Actually, don't be vulnerable. You can be vulnerable all you want. You know, it's okay to not know something. I don't know everything. I ask for help I have trusted mentors that I reach out to constantly and say, hey, I've got this scenario going on. I don't know what to do. You've been around the block. What's your thoughts on it? And usually they give me 2 or 3 or 4 options that, oh, I never thought about that. Okay, let's try that. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask. Oh, don't be afraid to ask, but be open to asking.
Yeah. And that is nicely, and feel free not to, because I know I don't want to offend anyone, but in terms of people who you would advise others to look for or seek out in the industry, or people who you would look up to in the industry, who would you say that should be?
I've got a few trusted people that I really like, from business owners to just field agents in general. I don't want to name drop a bunch of people. Eric Parker's been a big friend of mine. Daryl Biggs has been huge. Elijah Shaw, Mark James, Joe LaSorsa. I'm probably forgetting somebody. I feel like I'm an awards show.
Yeah.
My mother, no.
Please don't cry. Please don't cry.
There's so many people out there that I actually rely on. There's even agents who work for us who I value their opinion so much. I'll reach out to them. I know multiple guys who, they work for my company directly and I'm their boss, but I'm asking them for advice. Like, hey, you're 45 and you're 50 or whatever, and I haven't been through this before. Can you help me? Walk me through this. What's your thoughts? So, I mean, there's so many people out there in the world. You just have to know whoever's speaking, especially on the groups and on these forums, the person that's speaking, is it valuable? Is it a valuable lesson, or are they just, shooting shit? They're just talking,
Yeah, so sometimes they can be a little bit of an echo chamber because you get a lot of security people talking to security people. So you can just kind of go cyclical.
Yeah,
identify who are the valuable people in there.
It's a very alpha dominated industry too. So, everybody's right, everybody's wrong. So it's hard to balance, get through all the mud. All right, so here's where we're at. Okay.
So I'm just going to wrap up very quickly in the next couple minutes because I want to be respectful for your time on a Sunday. We're getting on for an hour now. So a couple more questions. Career highlight for Zach Rugen so far?
Whoa. Ooh, that's tough. Career highlight would probably be...
Can be more than one.
All right, I got a couple. Working the Super Bowl, working the NBA All-Star events, working Major League Baseball, World Series. I'm a huge sports fan, so it's been pretty big, pretty cool for me to be surrounded by all these athletes that I grew up looking up to, entertainers that I've been around. I'll tell you a funny story. I do some EP with an international touring artist, and I actually didn't know any of their music before I started working for them. So I was sitting in the green room with one of them, and he was asking me, what songs do you like that we perform? I said, well, I'll be honest, sir, I've never heard your music before. And so he gave me a challenge. He said, I'm giving you 24 hours to download our albums and to listen to every single song and pick out your favorite one, and then let me know tomorrow. So it's kind of cool whenever I knew who he was. I knew he was a celebrity, but for him to say, all right, look, go home and listen to my music. Tell me which one you like, and let me know tomorrow. So
that's you should have gone with all of them, sir.
Yeah, yes, sir. I like them all. I like them all. I mean, I've done some awesome stuff, from entertainment to sporting events to even working with corporate clients. And there's so much stuff I've done over the last few years. I don't have one favorite, but I'd say the sporting stuff is probably, all the sporting events I've been to has been pretty cool.
And then if I flip that in the head, then worst detail you've ever worked on?
Oh my God.
This could take a while.
It's never really been a terrible one. There's been somewhere some of the agents, I'm like, this guy's an idiot. But other than that, it's like, never really had a worst one. There's been some bad ones that I've dealt with some shitty stuff, shitty scenarios, but I don't say I have a number one worst that I'd say, all right, this one takes the cake. Like, I don't have that one yet.
Nothing that you tell other people to really avoid.
Yeah, not yet. I'm sure it'll happen. Don't
happen. Yeah. Walking out with 2 different color shoes on or anything like that. I'm telling that because that was me one time. I walked out for
I believe that.
Yeah.
You're disorganized. That's fine.
Yeah. I had my shoes laid out at the end of the bed and the suit laid out at the end of the bed. It was like a 4 a.m. start. So I come out at 3 a.m. out of the hotel room, out of the hotel room, got out into the corridor, just about to knock on the corridor the door across and I looked down, I had a black shoe and a brown shoe on. Very quietly reversed back into the room.
Oh, yeah, I'm not ready yet, guys. Stand by.
All right, I'll wrap it up with this very last question. What is next for Zach Rugen? Anything big coming up that you can talk about for Zach or for RMS or what's happening?
Yeah, we've got some things in the works. some marketing stuff that we're working on. Every day we're getting new jobs. So, there could be a new big job that we have. Right now I'm just loving life, man. I love the people I work with. I love the company I work for. It's been an incredible ride, to come from making $7 an hour, $7.50 an hour as a bouncer to where I'm at today. It's just been, I'm on cloud nine every day. You have no idea. I just love everything that we're doing. And we've got some stuff up our sleeves, but I'm not going to expose anything yet. So.
Damn it.
Sorry. I knew you thought I would give you an inside scoop, but I won't.
Oh, I thought it was going to be something massive at the end. Just leave that question till the end. He's bound to say something really good. No, it's great. It's great to see somebody, because, like I said, we met each other when we were both still working in nightclubs.
Yeah.
And met each other online. Yeah. You were actually the very first person I sent the manuscript of my book to.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, when that was coming out, and like I said, we've seen each other kind of grow and grow and grow, which is fantastic. You slightly quicker than me, granted, but
you're on a small again, your island's really small there. So.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And we spend 22 hours a day drunk, so it doesn't. You've got to have 2 hours a day to get the work done. But it is great. It is great to see. It's fantastic to see. So for people, I'm going to wrap it up with that. I want to say thanks first of all, because I know it's Sunday. You're on the road. You're away from your family. You could have spent this time 1.5 hours, 1 hour on the phone to your kids or whatever, and you've chosen to spend it with me. So thanks very much. It's kind of romantic in a strange kind of way, but nice as well.
I won't tell my wife.
I do appreciate it. For anyone that is listening, I strongly advise, if you're not connected with Zach or with RMS online, go check them out. They're on every single social media platform known to mankind on a constant basis. So I strongly advise you do. He's somebody who I really look up to. I'm really glad. I say it to you all the time, every time I text you, I'm really, really happy to see how well you are now doing, considering some of the conversations that we have had in the past and where we both come from. So I want to say thank you very much for taking the time. And I know this episode is going to go down really, really well. So thank you very much, Zach.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you for listening to the Security Operative Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show and got some value. If you'd like to follow more of our activity, you can find us on any of our social channels at Security Operative Consultancy Services. See you next time.